Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to season number 67 here at Rolling Thunder Gaming. This is race number 2. If you were watching last week, it was a little bit of a stuttery mess on the old YouTube channel. I fixed the problem. So this week will be buttery smooth as per usual. So thanks for hanging out. Let's just get right to the point here. My name is Blaine Donlan, joined by Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole from Flat Out Racing Network.
And we are absolutely looking forward to tonight's race because we've got one under our belts. These drivers took to the racetrack for the season opener 1 week ago. Most drivers in the must-win mentality because, hey, you don't end up bringing home the trophy on the first race of the season. You've got 8 more tries here before we put that playoff grid together. But it's interesting, Kyle, when we talked to some drivers last week after some decent finishes, those that weren't able to capture the checkered flag still kind of feel like they're going to adopt the must-win mentality here tonight. This early on in the season, we may see the same out of most drivers in the field, so we may end up running back a lot of the aggressive racing we saw in race 1 here in race number 2.
Well, there's only one way to feel safe, and that's to win a race, to give yourself... This isn't a win-in-you're-in system, is it? I can't remember.
It is, actually.
It is. Well, there you go. I mean, win a race, you're locked into the postseason, so... Yeah, I can't really say I blame drivers for feeling like every race is a must-win until they finally get a win.
And with getting that victory last week, Brian Schilling has got to be maybe the most at-ease driver coming into tonight because now he just has one goal for these final 8 races, and that's make sure he stays above the top 20 in the points for his win to at least count towards a wild card spot, though I feel we're going to be talking about him battling for regular season champion here during the course of the regular season. But to have that ace in the hole, if you will, it will be interesting to see how he approaches tonight's race. He did not draw the long straw in qualifying. He's actually rolling off the grid 33rd here tonight, so it'll be fun to watch that Kodak throwback work his way up through the field here tonight as pace car going to lead the field off of pit road. And this is the way they will look. 40 cars strong. They had to do go or go home qualifying again here tonight. Mark Paglia will capture the pole position alongside of Kelly Causey on the front row. Ulysses Sandoval will start in 3rd. 4th place, we're going to kind of leapfrog, but credit Blaine Donlan, our broadcast colleague here. He actually in the random qualifying draw got 4th place here tonight. Lightning fast lap time.
You're
How about
welcome.
that? So
Very
Michael
impressive.
Norman, our own Michael Norman, he's actually in the race tonight. He will now roll off the grid from the 4th position.
Now, how did Blaine and Michael out-qualify you, Seth? I thought this was all in-house, Tarnation TV, in what we do over here at FR8. I thought this was a partnership. I thought you guys all had the same equipment. You should all be up there in the top 5. What
If
happened?
it's another Super Speedway series, I qualify well. When it's with these guys, I'm lucky if I make mid-pack, Kyle. I'm a backmarker when it comes to qualifying with these guys. These guys know what they're doing. Grant Wesley and Denny Carroll, they're going to be back in row 3. Row 4 going to find Donnie Garrett and Terry Bombard. Your top 10 going to be completed with Doug Hulick and Dante Ricky. Milt Surratt will make up row number 6 with Randy Waugh.
Luigi?
There it is. Row 7 is going to find John Godfrey, Jeremy Jeffries. Row 8, Greg Palmer and Glenn Harris. Jason Scheck shares row number 9 with Richard Martin. Your top 20 will be completed with Mike Mangialardi and Bernie Mobbs. Bob Seminara, he's back in row 11 with Robert Breedlove. Row 12, Greg Lovell, Billy Elliser. Rodney Sullins, he's back in row 13 alongside of Josh Metallic. Row 14 will be Bobby Farrell and Robert Spring. And your top 30 with Brian Lovell and Chuck McClure. We mentioned last week's winner, Brian Schilling. He's back in 31st alongside of Jeffrey Elliott. Row 17 with Joe DeSpirito, Cy Jones. Row 18, Jeff Crivello, RJ Cabana. Rest of the field tonight will be Javier Negron, Brian Ross, and Tim Nofsker, and Cody Lamas. 66 laps await these drivers. One driver will look to join Brian Schilling as a race winner in season 67, and Paglia will lead them thundering into turn number 1. We'll also, during the course of the night, be able to see these numerous historic liveries on these race cars, as tonight is throwback night here, first time with the Men Cup 2019 machines.
I already see a good number of them up here in the front of the field. 28 of Mark Paglia, who ran that scheme here the last couple of seasons. And you got a good start, goes to the
Got a wreck
outside.
in the
There's
back.
Several drivers involved there, including Brian Lovell, Tim Knopfsker. Jeff Crivello got a slight piece of it as well. Knopfsker started towards the rear of the field and got swept up in this. Might have started with the 44 of Lovell. Yeah, it was the 92 of Bobby Farrell, the 44 of Brian Lovell as they were going into turn 3. Oh, no,
no
actually started up
contact
ahead
there.
of
Was
them.
that Breedlove that got...
931 of Robert Breedlove. It's like maybe some checkup on the top side there. Breedlove gets into the back of Mike Mangialardi. Illister's into the back of him. And then everything else that occurred was in reaction to that, and it was Brian Lovell, the first one that actually officially goes around straight up into the outside wall.
It's like your typical chain reaction deal right there.
Pretty awesome save by the 931. I mean, he did smack the wall, but wow.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who else got really lucky in that exchange, and that was the 17 of Chuck McClure, because Brian Lovell, when he went up and pounded the wall, he bounced off and came right down across the nose of Chuck McClure, the defending champion of this series.
On board with Chuck right now. Look at that steering wheel. Oh, yeah. Rodney Sellens is getting on the paint. Wow. You weren't kidding. You blink and you miss that move. You missed that.
Well, Brian Rawson just got by that too. He may have got a slight piece of it there, but wait, that could have been a lot worse for him.
Some slight contact for both Tim Knopfsker and Jeff Crivello, though I think it's going to be minimal contact. Crivello was down in the apron. The car kind of snapped up into Knopfsker as they were coming off of 4. Both went for pretty harmless spins. I think they should be okay. I'm a little worried about that front end damage on Brian Lovell, though, because he pounded the outside wall front end first, and you could see there was a bit of a buckle on the hood as he left the scene of the accident there between 3 and 4. We talked about how when these drivers past couple of seasons ran the Xfinity mod, prior to that the Aero 88 cars, a little bit more deceptive in knowing just how much damage those cars sustained. There's really no secrets when it comes to the Men Cup 2019 mod. You will visibly see the damage and be able to usually gauge whether that car is going to be up to speed or not. I think that 044 Brian Lovell is going to have a tough time here the remainder of this race.
You mentioned last week there was a lot of aggression throughout the field. Of course, last week was, the first race of the season, and they had quite the break in between, the end of last season and the start of this season. You had Christmas and New Year's, and I don't know if that's a longer break than they usually have, but I wonder if that had anything to do with the added aggression. Just guys itching to get back out there.
Could very well have. I think another reason, too, why we're seeing the aggression here is drivers that replaced mid-pack to rear of the field. I mean, this is now the point. Last week, everyone started at 0. It was a clean slate for everyone. Now you basically have an idea where your start point is. Are you up in the top of the point standings looking to maintain? Are you outside of the top 20, top 25 looking to gain positions? Now that you have a clear set goal as to what you need to do going forward, everybody on different agendas, and no two agendas may be exactly the same. And I think another thing that plays into it, it's back-to-back weeks here, and the first 2 races of the season that we have had go or go home qualifying. A number of drivers did not make the field here tonight, including Pat McCarskey, Keith Bynum, Graham McDonald, I believe Dave Little, Chris Elliott all failed to make the show. And so that puts, with the fact that we have 40 cars here week after week, that puts a sense of urgency in everybody, and the fact that you can gain or lose a ton of spots in the standings because there's so many points on the table when the green flag flies.
Just shows you how competitive this series is. I mean, if they're forgetting, that many people showing up and that many people not able to make the race, I mean, it's just simply incredible.
We see a little bit of split strategy here. According to scoring, the top 20 drivers elected to stay out here with this quick yellow. Second half of the field elected to come down pit road, most of them for fuel only. Some of them may have elected to take on a fresh set of tires to keep themselves towards the back of the pack. A lot of drivers feel comfortable just kind of riding towards the rear of the field first half of this race, but interesting that maybe, just maybe, we are already less than 5 laps into this race, already playing the fuel strategy game, as end up seeing a number of drivers around mid-pack come to pit road at this 1 to green. So it'll be interesting to follow that as this race progresses, depending on when and if future yellows fall.
One of the cars I noticed that came to pit road was last week's winner, Brian Schilling. And he started, in the back of the pack anyway, so he didn't have a whole lot to lose.
Ulysses Sandoval, Grant Wesley, Jeremy Jeffries amongst those as well. Robert Breedlove, who we saw get up into the wall, have that great save. Maybe a little bit of right side TLC had to be done to that machine, but he should be good to go. As all 40 drivers that took the green flag to start this race still scored in this race and still on the lead lap, getting ready for our first restart of the night, as Paglia and Causey will lead us back to green. We saw Mark Paglia pull up in front of Kelly Causey on the initial start of this race, kind of that proverbial okie dokie. It'll be interesting to see if they do the same strategy here on the restart.
Mark Paglia got a good restart there, got a good push from Cletus McFarlane. I'm sorry, that's Michael Norman in the 30 car. So Paglia go to the outside just like he did on the initial start. Has Kelly Causey right behind him, giving Michael the bottom line. He's going to get pushed from Denny Carroll on the 41.
Those cars on that inside line just getting up to speed, and you could see a number of them, Norman, Carroll, Ricky, they all started pushing up off the corner. Inside line, it may be the shorter way around the racetrack, but it's not necessarily the easiest, especially when you're coming off of 2 and 4. That inside line wants to push up into the middle groove, and usually that middle groove is not very accommodating. They want to pinch you down, make sure you have to half throttle up the corner so that way you lose that straight line speed.
And they do have a third line going here. I can't tell who that is leading at the 22 of Greg Palmer. That's the 8 car behind him.
Greg Palmer looking for a little lightning to strike twice, if you will, as this past Saturday night in the ASR Super Speedway Series, he put that Notre Dame paint scheme in victory lane in their season opener, and wow!
Tight Michael right there in the middle, almost getting into Randy Waluigi. Well, the irony there.
They were 4 wide. They're still 4 wide as Robert Springs trying to drop back. Jason Scheck actually dropped to the apron below the yellow line on the back straightaway. A lot of drivers not liking what they're seeing and trying to get out of Dodge.
I saw that 22. Greg Palmer. I was looking for the Hooters paint scheme right there. It took me a minute to realize that was him up there.
Yeah, when he's not running like a Magnum car or the Dixon car.
Yeah.
Like, we're just running a Notre Dame football car. Cool.
Representing the Fighting Irish, and he's going to pick up a fellow blue oval there as Michael Norman jumps up to that third line, trying to get something going. As that third line continues to move forward, it's drawing the middle line back, and it's helping the inside line. Kelly Causey going to go to the point with help from Denny Carroll, a couple of bow ties on the bottom.
Like that Budweiser throwback on Kelly Causey's car. I think it's the, looking at the 1998 Ricky Craven paint scheme, that was actually number 50 that year for NASCAR's 50th anniversary. That's what the number font looks like.
Now, was that the year that Hendrick went 1, 2, 3, or was that a different year?
That was 97.
Okay.
97 in the 500, yep.
How do you remember all that stuff? That's wild.
I've been asking myself that question all my life.
No, like that, I like sports guy. Like I watched NASCAR, obviously, and a little bit on and off, kind of stopped mid-2000s, but like some people just retain those numbers, and I think it's amazing.
I have a thing for remembering years. I don't know why, but
I'm
years always stick with me.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, 5 years ago. And I look at the calendar, I'm like, no, that was 15 years ago. Holy moly.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
For me, it's like, oh yeah, a year ago, and I look and it was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And Dante Ricky, highest running of the Toyotas. Got quite a few Toyota representatives here this season. Dante and a number of others had to qualify their way in to this race here tonight. Michael Norman, Cody Lamas among some of those as well. Drivers that were not in the top 30 in points at the conclusion of last season, needing to qualify their way in here in the first 3 races of the season. And of course, while everybody is battling to obviously win this race, there's also the goal of a lot of drivers that didn't get good runs last week to keep themselves above the top 30 in points at the conclusion of race 3, because then you're locked in to the 4th race. Everybody below that has to qualify their way in. If we continue the trend here of having 40 plus car fields, it's going to put a lot of pressure on drivers to make sure they're in the top 30 in owner points.
On board right now at the 84 of Dante.
He's leading that middle line. Got nobody, as soon as I was about to say, had nobody in front of him, and now the 23 is down there. Decent ways back behind him, though. He's going to get a nice push up there, I would imagine. Inside line's where you want to be, it looks like right now. Denny Carroll has taken the lead.
Like the top 4 clear on that inside line. Back to former champion Richard Martin, Mike Mangialardi, side by side with Donnie Garrett. That's for P5. You know, early on in the season, there's so many different things for these drivers to race for. We obviously talked about trying to lock yourself early into the playoffs. We've already documented trying to be in the top 30 in owner points. But how about as well, trying to put yourself in the top 32 in points by the conclusion of race 3, because that determines where you're going to get seated in the bracket challenge. Of course, Donnie Garrett, the defending champion of the bracket series 1 season ago.
Saw Richard Martin jump up in front of Donnie Garrett to lead that middle line. They're making some progress, too.
Yeah, they got a big run right there that they maintained all the way from turn 1 to the exit of turn 2. A nice surge, got a lot of help behind them with Doug Hulick, Dante Ricky, Josh Metallic now up there on that outside line, that Ryan Newman throwback. I'm pretty sure that paint scheme did not fare well here at Talladega one of those years back in the mid-2000s, so maybe trying to change the luck.
2009, the fall race was actually upside down for a little bit in that race. Or I think it was him. I know he was in that wreck on the last lap in the spring race that year when Keselowski won and sent Carl Edwards flipping, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the one that caught Carl Edwards' flying race car.
Yeah. I know he didn't fare too well in the fall race that year either, but that is one of my
fall race. I think I want to say he landed on top of Kurt Busch, but I might be wrong.
Land on somebody, I know that. But that is one of that might be my favorite Ryan Newman paint scheme, though, that U.S. Army car.
Middle line continuing to move forward, a little slower than it was before, but Demar now alongside of Kelly Causey and might actually get alongside of Denny Carroll here with a good push through the tri-oval. He might snipe this lap. This is going to be really close to see who's going to lead the conclusion of lap 13. Scoring says, give it to Carroll.
0-0-0. Well, no, 0.00. I can't see the third one.
0.001.
1/1000th of a second.
He might get it this lap, though. He's got a pretty good head of steam here now.
A couple of
drivers
lost the pack here. One of them is the 44 Brian Lovell, involved in the earlier caution. Lot of heavy impact to the front end of his machine, so he's got that aero damage. And also the 10 of Terry Bombard has somehow lost the draft. I'm going to attribute that to the fact that Jeff Crivello's in the field, because he's told us in interviews, even told us last week, if Jeff's not in the field, Terry does well. Well, Jeff is in the field here tonight, right now running in 34th, so that's why Terry has currently lost the draft in 39th.
Wow, that's Don't know how that happens, but okay. And looks like Josh Metallic is going to try to lead at the far outside line there. Got Michael right behind him, and I believe that's the 56 of Jeffrey Elliott. Now Richard Martin jumps up in front of them. It's going to give Donnie Garrett the lead.
And that's going to really hurt that inside line, I feel, too, because they're 3 wide around the 5th position, top 4, all on that inside line. Let's also remember, too, as we continue to get closer to the lap 20 mark, we had half the field that stayed out under that caution. The other half all came to pit road, so we're talking anywhere from 3 to 5 laps difference of fuel for 50% of the field here. We're going to see a lot of drivers coming to pit lane here, potentially under green, but there's going to be a number of drivers that stay out and pit a little bit later. With the number of laps we've run, there's obviously got to be an intermingling of different drivers and different strategies. It'll be interesting to see how they all navigate each other here when those drivers that absolutely have to come to pit road around lap 19, lap 20 finally do so.
One of those cars that came to pit road under that caution is now up here in the picture, the 4 of Brian Schilling. And to restart a good ways back and finally work his way up there inside the top 10, it looks like. It's that 3rd car on the outside line.
Looking at the pit stop stats here on the printout, they're all mixed up too. Like they're not running together. So this can be an interesting pit stop.
Yeah, you may end up getting an indication of those that can go a little further, potentially staying up in that 2nd lane, not necessarily needing that urgency of getting down to the bottom of the racetrack to have that easier access onto pit road. As you mentioned, Brian Schilling amongst those who can go a little further. Right behind him, Grant Wesley. We know these are some of the drivers that did pit, so they'll probably stay up there to make sure that they're not hindering any of those other drivers, either in front or behind them, that are going to have to come to pit lane in the next 3 laps or so. But this is the beauty of super speedway racing as well, because we documented Brian Schilling. He comes into this race with weight of the world off his shoulders after he won last week. He can go out there, just be a little bit more aggressive, rack up bonus points towards the playoffs. But he did not qualify well. He rolled off the grid from the 31st position. Doesn't take you very long if you know where the momentum is and who to work with to make your way to the front. Schilling an example of that here.
Looks like that outside line about to have a battle for the lead here. The 23, Doug Helick, now side by side with Donnie Garrett. Getting a good push there from the 84.
Yeah, last week, obviously, the season opener, and a lot of drivers did not fare very well in that race. Looking for a bit of a comeback race here tonight. Helick would be one of those drivers. Last week found himself leaving that race 31st in points. So even just getting up here and sniping that bonus point for a lap led is huge for that 23 car, who right now is scrapping for every point he possibly can. Early on in the season, if you run into hard luck, the following race, if you can net a top 5, a top 10, it's incredible with the points, how close together they are, just how much ground you can make up in the span of a race. Double digits we've seen drivers leap through the point standings with just a top 5.
Looks like Ricky is going to lead this lap.
Now he's going to move down to the bottom after getting that bonus point. I believe he was one of the drivers that stayed out. I believe we've got some radios lighting up. Drivers going to be hitting pit lane here, so we'll be seeing those that did not pit under our only caution of the night coming to pit lane. A number of drivers will be staying out and going a few laps further. 84 of Dante Ricky might be one of those first to pit road. Let's see.
And yep, here he comes. Helick, Donnie Garrett, Benny Carroll.
Oh,
boy, there's trouble.
Oh, Paglia.
Yeah, we got Paglia and Norman both locking up those right fronts. The cars just turned straight out into the grass. I don't think they made contact with anybody else, and they are going to be able to get rolling again, but that's going to cost them an awful lot of track time.
Yeah, we saw Michael trying to hot pit during practice there, and
he was successful then.
yeah.
The problem is, you got to be successful when it matters.
That's right. So now Brian Schilling inherits the race lead over Grant Wesley and Joe DeSpirito. We'll have to see just how much longer these drivers will go. Actually, we got some more coming to pit lane here, including DeSpirito from third. We got a spinner.
Wait, that drift.
Harris, Tokyo drifted it. I don't know if he made the commitment cone or not, but the fact he got that thing on a pit road is amazing.
He did. I hope he did make the commitment cone. He can't get a black flag for that. That was way too pretty.
That was an amazing save right there. I don't look at that.
Watching,
that was awesome.
He made the cone. How in the world did he do that?
Let's back it up.
It's got to be one of the coolest road entries I've seen.
Oh, by far, 100%. Glenn Harris pitting. Like, didn't even hit anybody. Perfection.
Like, I've seen drivers lock them up, smoke the tires when they're coming to the commitment cone line. I've never seen somebody drift into pit road and make the cone.
At like 100 miles an hour plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible car control.
And comes out with other people. Like, he didn't even lose. It's like he lost a little bit, probably, but not as much as he should have. That's crazy.
I'm sure that's how he planned it. I mean, come on.
Of course. That's how he drew it up.
Yeah. He passed a bunch of cars by doing that. That's exactly what happened.
See, that was a real pass in the grass right there.
Those cars that are up to speed here, currently leading this race, having to kind of slice and dice their way through traffic. And now they're all coming to pit road here, being led by Brian Schilling. Oh, Jeremy Jeffries, big lockup, makes some contact with Javier Negron coming to the commitment line. I don't know if that's going to shoot the 40 over the 55-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit or not. He had one of those early stalls toward pit road entry there. We'll have to find out about that, but looks like for the most part, that group all got onto pit road safely. Not sure exactly who's going to cycle out to the race lead here. Might be between Donnie Garrett, Joe DeSpirito, and Brian Schilling, who kind of are leading their respective groups. Garrett's group and DeSpirito's group are up to speed. Schilling and company, they're just now coming off pit road trying to get themselves up to full song.
I think Donnie Garrett's going to have it here.
Very cool with that early caution, how it broke up the pit strategies. Now we're going to have a little bit of a mixture here. These guys are stuck together like glue. Holy moly. Just railroading everybody.
Now what's going to make it even more interesting is there one group that can make it the rest of the way on one less pit stop than everybody else now? I don't think so. Usually, if we end up going green the entirety of a race, the final pit stop for drivers is usually around that 6 lap to go mark. We ended up seeing most of the second group of drivers that had under that only caution come to pit road 3-4 laps afterwards. So I think for the first group, you're still looking at the scenario of about 6 laps short. The other group still, I think, would find themselves 2 to 3 laps short. So I think it obviously differs, but I think everyone still is going to have to make the same amount of pit stops to get to the end. And it looks like, according to scoring, with everything we saw take place there, cars in the grass, drifting onto pit road, little contact here, little contact there, all 40 cars made it to pit road. All 40 cars got it down to 55. No black flags on this cycle.
That is incredible right there. I was about to say, despite all that, nothing brought out a caution, and now we know nobody got penalized. So everybody doing a great job of keeping it together out there, even though that wasn't the cleanest looking pit stops for some of these guys.
The incident report there from last week, speaking of getting penalized.
Like right now, we've got 32 drivers up in this lead pack, from Donnie Garrett snaking all the way back. The Lake Speed throwback of Jason Scheck. Jeremy Jeffries, he's lost the draft, currently back in 33rd. Same for John Godfrey, Greg Palmer, Cy Jones, Michael Norman. They're all currently scored on the lead lap. Mark Pagley and Brian Lovell are -1. Terry Bombard is currently scored -3. I believe, yeah, Terry is just now leaving pit road. I'm not certain. He might have had, no, I thought he might have had connection problems, but it doesn't look like he dropped out of the server. A very lengthy stay for the 10 car, and he just was on pit road for a number of laps. So something a little untoward going on with Terry. And we talked about drivers that struggled last week looking to bounce back. Terry Bombard, he finished podium last week. He brought it home in the 3rd position. And right now, it's like he's going to take a mighty free fall through the standings if he continues to run where he is, currently dead last.
A lot of this group is single file, but they are starting to get a second line going there. Couldn't tell who's leading that line, but Rodney Sollins. The Dale Earnhardt Bass Pro Shops throwback there.
What year?
1998.
No, I knew it. What month?
Probably May. He ran that in the All-Star race that year. So.
Oh, look at this. That's amazing.
You can't get him, Blaine. I've tried. You can't get him.
It's impossible. I don't even know. That's awesome.
Here he is, just naming off months and everything.
Yeah. He ran it in the All-Star race, so it would have been May.
And I spent like the first 30 minutes of preparation just Googling paint schemes to try to figure out who drove this, who drove that.
Yeah. So the way the throwback races work here, they do it every other week, right?
Correct.
Right. And they're based on real drivers? Like real-life NASCAR drivers?
So, yeah.
Or do they throw back to a paint scheme maybe they ran in season 52 at RTG?
I don't know if there's any drivers that actually throw back to personal paint schemes or not.
Or throw back to, running David Cannon, Bob Dixon, like you could throw back to those guys.
Yep.
Change the number up.
We saw Michael go a lap down there. Wow. So that would be, I think it's only like him and the 28 of Pagula. Are they the only ones one lap down right now?
Currently, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
Brian just fell a second lap down, Terry -4. So yeah, those two, Paglia and Norman, would be in the lucky dog positions. If we were to get a yellow, we're not that far away from them catching up to the 7 of Cy Jones, though, so that would make it a 3-car fight for those 2 positions.
We shouldn't forget to thank everybody for watching this deal, and of course our sponsors who want to remain anonymous. So thank you for that. And of course, Rolling Thunder Gaming for having a stacked server every Thursday.
Absolutely. Just checking back in there with Rodney Sullins in that 3rd lane. Doesn't look like they're making a whole lot of progress. Just now, Sullins is going to get ahead of Javier Negron, but haven't been able to make up a whole lot of ground as of right yet. I've not really been able to combat that middle line, and now you got 3 cars further up that are trying an inside line. Greg Lovell, Richard Martin, and Grant Wesley, but I think they're going to need more numbers to be able to fight against that middle groove.
They're holding their own down there, though. I'm surprised. They're not gaining, but they're not really losing much ground either.
And they might gain more, because I am noticing back around that 3 wide, more drivers are moving from the middle up to the 3rd lane. Metallic and Nofsker doing it just now. Chuck McClure did it a couple of corners ago. So we might end up seeing that inside line make a lot more progress here in the next couple of laps.
I see Dante Ricky jump down in front of Greg Lovell to lead that inside line for the time being.
And everyone noticed. Whole top 5 all moved down. There was actually almost contact there between the 21 of Randy Waugh,
Luigi,
and the 24 of Joe DeSpirito. It's like they've got that sorted out.
I swear the entire field was single file like 2 laps ago.
Not surprised to see Dante down that inside line. Remember last Saturday night when I took part in that ASR Super Speedway race. It was right here on Tarnation TV, and hey, join them this Saturday night as that season continues on. But Dante kept going down to the inside line. We were at the tail end of the lead pack. I said, "You bored, Dante?" He said, "Yeah, I don't like riding." And he ended up charging the inside line up to the front of the field in the closing stages. So not surprised to see him peeking his nose out here, trying to make something happen, get to the front.
You see on the outside line there, Joe DeSpirito now leading that. Got drafting help from one of his favorite drafting partners, Bob Seminara, in the 712. That 0X Alan Kowicki throwback. Nice looking car. And DeSpirito going to be side by side for the lead here with Donnie Garrett.
Spirito last week, just outside of the top 10 in the finishing results. 11th in the standings coming into tonight. Seminara 15th. Both drivers could improve their way up into the top 10 in the standings with a good run here tonight, but they would like that golden ticket into the playoffs as well via a victory. Of course, the playoff standings, top 12 in points are locked into the playoffs at the end of the regular season, and then any drivers with a victory between 13th and 20th in points would get in via wildcard spots. This series puts just as much emphasis on winning races as it does on consistency, which in a super speedway series is not an easy task.
Oh, no. That's nicely done there by both Espirito and Seminara to go. Both of them were able to go from the outside to the very bottom once they were clear of the 77. That leaves Ulysses Sandoval to lead that outside line now with Josh Metallic right behind him.
It seems like it literally just happened. These drivers, a lot of them, getting ready for the second cycle of green flag pit stops here within the next 5 laps. It's like now we've got the top 30 drivers in this lead group. Of the lead lap drivers, that is. About a half dozen drivers that are currently on the tail end of the lead lap, but not in this lead group, would love to see a caution to catch themselves back up. Godfrey, Palmer, Jeremy Jeffries, Robert Breedlove, and Jason Scheck. Ooh. Sure, that might have been a little server warp there. I don't know if the broadcast caught that or not, too. That's something that'll get your heart pumping real quick.
Yeah, I've noticed it's been doing that a little bit over the last few laps. I never thought that's the worst that it's been, though. Definitely made me nervous at first.
I mentioned that we saw Rodney Sullins heading up that outside line. Now 5th in that outside line. His father Al in our chat tonight said that on that first round of green flag pit stops, maybe the radar guns were broken. Well, we might find out the answer to that here on this next cycle, because as we get closer towards the end of the race, we draw closer to that money stop. These drivers, they want to push it to that little extra more. Try and see if they can gain a spot or two on pit lane, and sometimes they overstep. So we'll find out if those radar guns are broken or not.
You might have just heard Rodney tap into the booth there. He whispered to me, the server's being sketchy.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So what you guys saw, you weren't going crazy. It's something going on in server side.
Last thing you want to hear in a super speedway race.
From an administrator.
That's when you see drivers give each other a lot of room in their respective lines.
You can see the cars are jiggling back and forth a little tiny bit. That might be what is causing that.
And what makes that difficult, too, is with that side-to-side for everybody, it makes it difficult to gauge if it's smart to push the car in front of you or not, because we talk about the fact that this is, in my opinion, one of the best mods for super speedway racing because it's one of the easiest mods to push with, but it does not mean that the Men Cup 2019 mod is not susceptible to what we call bumper grab, when the front bumper hooks with the back bumper, and if two cars are side to side and you have those bumpers at just the wrong time, you could end up seeing one or both of those cars get snapped around and cause a massive wreck. So you're seeing a lot of space being given here between all these race cars. Here we go.
Donnie Garrett leading a group down here along with Denny Carroll.
Very aggressive onto pit road there for the 21 of Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
I believe he just passed two race cars right there.
Ulysses got that lap led too. One for him now. Some bonus points for the 096.
Ulysses coming off a top 5 run last week, 5th place.
Coming up with some lap traffic there, the 31 of Bernie Mobbs. Another talented painter. Mobbs staying low, he's probably heading in.
We've seen him in that Citgo car. Now in the historic Singular Wireless paint scheme that Jeff Burton had.
I'm guessing he's a Jeff Burton fan.
Believe so.
Yeah.
And at least he's running the Singular Wireless sponsored car, not just the plain orange car that Jeff had back in the day when they couldn't get the sponsorship.
No, yeah, that whole deal with Singular and AT&T with Sprint sponsor of the series. Yeah, that was a
commercial.
Headache.
Oh, Robert Breedlove just hit road. Like he was able to keep it going as Josh Metallic has the daunting task of leading the field through drivers that had just left pit road. Goes to the inside of that Terry Labonte throwback of Robert Spring and to the outside of the Petty throwback of Bobby Farrell.
Terry Labonte throwback, my favorite throwbacks in the field here.
On board with the 39, Josh Metallic.
We'll probably see him and the rest of the drivers in this group on pit road. If not this lap, the following lap. Which is going to put them anywhere from 3 to 4 laps shy of the finish. And I'm not 100% certain. I'm going to have to crunch the numbers here. I'm not sure if this gains them an advantage, provided we go green the rest of the way, of maybe being able to take on a little less fuel than the rest of the drivers that had to pit earlier. Is that group now hitting pit road. Whoa, Brian Lovell, big lockup, spins around. I believe he's going to be... I think he might have been in Javier Negron's pit stall, and Javier's actually going to miss his stall now. Going to have to come back around. Hopefully he's got enough fuel to do so.
That's a tough break right there, because in that situation, you really don't want to, because you do that too much, and the game will disqualify you.
Saw earlier the 92 of Bobby Farrell coming back down pit road. He was hit with a black flag, and we're now being told Milt Surratt in the 80 also with a black flag penalty. So both those drivers will have to come down pit road for a pass-through. Brian Lovell, who we saw have that spin, it looks like he's retired from the race. So he will get credited for 40th place here tonight, the only driver so far that is in the garage area after 42 completed laps. Last season, we saw Denny Carroll get his first career win here in the Talladega Challenge Series. Made his way into the playoffs, fought in the finals of the Bracket Challenge as well. And now, trying to lead this up-to-speed group around the top side and get himself to the front. Gonna challenge Josh Metallic on that outside line here as they come around to complete lap 43. Just barely edged out. Denny Carroll did Metallic, but the momentum is on that outside line.
stop and go there for Surratt. I thought it would have been a drive-through.
We're also seeing the Ford Brian Schilling coming off of pit road here. Did he get a penalty?
No, he scored as the race leader last time by.
Oh,
says,
yeah.
So.
That's what I thought. He's being billed right now as the lead. Well, like you said, last time by as the leader. Won't be now.
So this is interesting because, again, like we said, when you've got that victory early on in the season, it gives you the whole rest of the regular season the opportunity to maybe experiment. And it looks like Brian may have saved a lot of fuel during that last run to go as far as he did. Now, it looks like he still would be short of making it to the finish by about 2 laps, but he saved 2 laps on that run. So if he can do that again here, if we stay green the rest of the way, Schilling could be the only one in this field that could make it the rest of the way from this point.
If there's anybody that can save fuel in this field, it's Brian Schilling. We've
Darn
seen
right.
it
So
multiple times in the past.
If he can replicate what he saved on that cycle, he might be able to make it to the end without having to pit again.
He went 2 laps further than everybody else that was on the same number as him. Everybody was about 2 to 3 laps short of fuel of the group he was in. So he would be just maybe barely on the number to make it the rest of the way. He'll probably be on fumes when he crosses the start-finish line, but hey, if you're already locked into the playoffs, why not try it?
The benefits of winning the first race of the season.
Imagine that you're doing that kind of experiment and maybe he pulls it off and, why not? That's a story and a half right there if he can make that happen.
Right now, Schilling is running the bottom of the racetrack. He's letting a couple of cars in front of him, so he's in the draft, which is exactly what he needs to do. Can't lose the draft. He needs the draft to help him with his fuel saving.
He's got Sheck behind him, but Sheck's changing lanes.
I was riding on board with him there for this past half lap, looking to see if maybe he clutches going into the corner. Might be half throttling it, but he's not fully throwing in the clutch to save.
You see Javier Negron on the top side there, yielding to the pack, the lead pack.
And Javier losing the draft because he had to come back around to his pit stall. He had Brian Lovell spun around in his pit stall when he was on pit lane, so had to make that extra journey around this 2.66 mile super speedway before he could come to the attention of his crew. List of drivers that are clamoring for a yellow flag is continually increasing as Jason Sheck, now Javier Negron, have fallen off the lead lap. We've got about, I believe with Javier, 7 drivers now a lap down, fighting for those 2 available lucky dog positions.
Yellow flags have been far and few between. We saw one on the opening lap before we even completed the first lap, but ever since then, it's been clean and green.
This is kind of reminding me of those type of races we see as we approach the playoffs or during the playoffs, where pit road is usually the deciding factor, maybe more so than what happens on the racetrack. And we're seeing it this early on in the season, which I think maybe in a sense is these drivers big picture racing, realizing just how many cars there are every single week. That old adage, in order to finish first, you have to first finish. So they're making sure they race aggressive but clean because they want to at least be in the conversation when that white flag waves.
Well, they're all doing a good job of that right now. But we all know the later into the race we get, that's, we usually see the aggression level pick up. So we'll see how long this continues.
First time tonight that we see Grant Wesley out in front, leading this race. That 2001 All-Star Game car.
Very famous paint scheme right there.
It was funny, we were actually watching these drivers in practice And the roles were historically reversed. Grant was getting pushed by the Michael Waltrip throwback of Jeremy Jeffries. Of course, in 2001, you're talking about the historic meaning behind that paint scheme there. It was the scheme that Michael Waltrip was pushed to the win by when DEI finished 1-2 in that Daytona race.
In the Daytona 500, then the roles were reversed in July when Dale Jr. ran this paint scheme. This Jr. drove to an emotional victory in that race, and Michael Waltrip, his teammate, finished second in that race. So
had that emotional embrace in the infield grass, one of those moments that just kind of stick in the memory. Hey, a couple of drivers that have started to appear up here towards the front as these pit stops have occurred. We mentioned about Bernie Mobbs. He was kind of riding tail end of the lead pack most of this race. Now he's making a charge to the front just in the latter half of the top 10 and making the pass on the 889 National Guard Chevy of RJ Cabana. So, we've seen a number of drivers run into some issues on pit road. Those have been able to execute perfectly, are reaping the benefits, and now up here in the conversation as the pay window begins to open.
somebody else up here in the conversation I've noticed, the 30 has found the 48.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Cody Lamas right now scored in 12th. Michael told us that he had 2 goals tonight. One, execute hot pitting correctly. So an X in that box. No check mark for that. But he said if he found Cody, he was going to force him to not ride at the back. He was going to push him to the front. So here you go.
Funny how things work out on a super speedway. You're just talking about RJ Cabana. He's not leading that inside line. Goes to the inside of Seminara. Well, he was leading the inside line. 21.
Oh, my gosh! How did Seminara save that?
Oh, man.
Side-to-side contact between Cabana and Seminara in the center of the corner. The 712 jostled and somehow did not spin out. Near calamity would have occurred right there had we had a wreck this far up at the front of the field.
It was a great job by Seminara. Great job by everybody behind him to not overreact to what was happening there and cause a big chain reaction crash as well.
And Brian Schilling back there is saying, no, don't wreck. Please don't wreck. So I did a little number crunching here in relation to the drivers of the first group who did not pit all the way back when we had that only caution in the first 5 laps of this race in comparison to those that did pit under that yellow flag. If my math is correct, the drivers that did not pit under the caution, when they come to pit road here for the final time, they will have to take on a can of fuel. They're going to find themselves about 5 to 6 laps short. The other drivers, they're going to be able to come down pit road and only take on a half a can of fuel. May not seem like much, but when it comes down to the minuscule final laps of a race, just that little extra precious second saved on pit road could be a difference in track position. And again, Brian Schilling, big question mark here as to whether he's even going to come to pit road the rest of this race or not.
I can't wait to see that. If he's able to pull that off, that's phenomenal. Just a heads-up play, too, trying to do all that math in your head, right?
Look at the Spirito and Seminara jump to the bottom, had a run for the lead for a brief second, but Wesley jumped down in front of them, but they do get by Ulysses on the outside there. And Michael has pushed Cody all the way up there into the top, right outside the top 5, it looks like. See Cody right there behind Ulysses, the second car on the outside line.
Bringing a lot of others with them as well, including Jeffrey Elliott, Rodney Sullins. We haven't really mentioned Kelly Causey's name since the beginning of the night when he qualified up inside of the top 5. Now he's starting to make his way back up into the top 10 late. As of right now, Donnie Garrett would hold the bonus point for most laps led. 13 circuits out in front, but Grant Wesley currently showing the way. This time by, he'll be the second driver to reach double digits, and he potentially could bypass Garrett for that
Pit
bonus
stops.
point. As here we go, drivers on pit lane is whoa,
Randy.
way out in the grass. Oh, and he's gonna loop on pit road in front of traffic. Fortunately, he got it pointed back in the right direction, but I don't think he got that thing woed up.
And imagine he's got a lot of front end damage from that hit too. That was a pretty good hit there.
You may be wondering, why are these drivers pitting as soon as they are when they probably could go as far as lap 60? Well, you got two choices. You could come down pit road at the absolute latest possible time and take on a can of fuel, or you can come to pit road now and be able to make it still on that one can of fuel as well. I think for most of those drivers, they thought come down pit road with a smaller group, you have less of a chance of mistakes, and maybe be able to find yourself cycled out to the front once all is said and done, hoping that maybe some other groups run into trouble. But right there with the 21 of Randy Waugh having problems in front of that group, got to wonder if some of them checked up, and that might slow up that entire pack. May not all come out together now.
Currently on lap 58. Game crashed a little bit, so I'm rebooting all the tickers and stuff. So anybody who cannot see the laps, this is lap number 58.
And a bunch of others that I believe have just lit up the radios going to be coming to pit road this time by. See if Grant Wesley is amongst them. I believe he, Despirito Seminara, should be able to go a little bit further here. They're in the category of those that should be able to make it on a half can.
Sandoval as well. See the 8 coming to pit road along with, I believe that's the 23.
No drift this time for Glenn Harris.
Extremely boring, and yeah, that not as exciting as the other one.
No style points this time.
No backflips, no nothing.
I mean, he doesn't want to show off. I mean,
what's he gonna do next week? Tune in next Thursday.
Yeah.
As we focus on the 8 car.
Brian Rawson's coming back in. Not sure if he missed his pit the first time by or if he's serving a black flag, and we saw that extremely aggressive hot pit by Randy Waugh, and it looks like he's been hit with a black flag. So a tough break there for a driver that is most of the night running up inside of the top 10, if not the top 5.
Let's see Despirito and Seminara coming down pit road along with a few others, but Wesley continues to stay out there along with Sandoval, Lamas, and others.
Kelly Causey, Jeffrey Elliott, Jeff Crivello amongst those that also came down pit road. I've been watching Schilling, and he has refused to lead a line. He has continually been running behind somebody.
Oh, yeah. Got to get that draft.
Before it was Jason Scheck. Now it's Rodney Sullins.
So your theory is right. He's conserving. If he doesn't want to lead, there's the reason. He's able to sit back there with like 90% throttle and just let these guys pull him. It's too bad we don't have a throttle telemetry that we could see live, because that would be cool to watch. You can, if you are driving, you can see that in your own replay, but you can't see the other drivers, unfortunately.
Well, they do that on purpose too, because you could end up having a crew chief or a spotter who could be looking in and getting that information and relaying that to their driver. It ends up giving a sense of mystery, I guess you could say, from the rest of the field.
So here we are coming up to lap number 62.
This is around the time when most of these drivers are going to have to come to pit road. They could probably go another 2 to 3 laps further, but they are absolutely going to have to pit.
Oh,
looks like
Schilling's pitting.
Schilling's coming in with them.
Oh yeah, the 48's got to get.
I think he missed his stall.
Yeah,
he and Oscar both were
those guys
at the
are
tail
way
end
back
of the
there.
field.
Yeah. So the 48
He's going to have to go back around.
It's a tough break for Cody. He was having a good run before that.
Mm-hmm. Could he not have just backed her up? Is that a penalty, I guess, if you have to go
Depends
too far
on how
away?
far ahead of your stall you are.
Mm-hmm.
If
I wonder
the
if you just
sign
take the
is still
chance.
down, then you could. Honestly, yeah, I think I would have chanced it.
Yeah.
You're going to lose spots anyway, having to come around to pit road the next time by. So chance it, see if they'll service you or not. If not, then cut your losses and come back around. But I would have chanced it and tried backing up, especially this late in the race.
This might be the battle for the lead here.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Cody.
I think he's out of fuel. Cody's in the grass there off at 2, keeping it low. I think he just ran out of fuel, didn't have enough to make it back around.
Yeah, it's quiet. We're in the cockpit here now, and he's got no RPM.
Keeping it low so that way the racing server does not pick that up as the car offs and throw a yellow here.
Yeah, he's back in his piss now. He got the tow.
I believe Dante Ricky is going to cycle out as the race leader.
Yeah,
Or no, never mind. He's actually going to cycle to around 5th position because the top 4 are way up ahead here with Wesley, Schilling, Sullins, and McClure. Shows you the difference between taking a half can of fuel and a full can of fuel.
Where did Chuck McClure come from? I don't think we've called his name much tonight, but here he is right up here in contention for the win here.
1 season ago, he won the first race of the season. He'd go on to find victory lane during the playoffs, advance into the final 5, and win the whole thing. Looking for an early ticket into the playoffs here, as he's making a bid for back-to-back championships.
Well, and on the incident report from last week, McClure, yeah, he's a 1 in park tonight. So playing it safe. He was I guess they deemed him the cause of a race-ending caution in last week's race number 1. But here he is in 4th.
And would be involved in that. He ended up coming into night 23rd in points, so even a 4th place run, if he stays right where he is, he's going to make leap the point standings, maybe up even into the 12.
Just say that was a really good stop by the top 4, because remember Grant Wesley, he was I believe he was the last of he led the last group coming down pit road, and they were able to stay ahead of everybody.
And this group of 4 is doing a great job of maintaining against the bigger pack of drivers from 5th place on back. I mean, they were 3.2 seconds behind them the previous lap. I think they maintained here this lap, and this group is running out of time. There's only 1.5 laps to go. I don't think they're going to catch them. It's incredible what these 4 cars, single filer, being able to do to hold off a thundering pack of about 15 drivers.
Yeah, and it went from 3.2 down to 3.0, so they only shaved off a quarter second, which is
they don't have enough time.
Irrelevant, really.
Even if they caught up to that duo of Randy Waugh and Terry Bombard, I don't think that they'd get enough of a run to be able to challenge these top 4 here with only 1 lap to go. Now the question is, Schilling's already got a win. Wesley, Sullins, and McClure are trying to lock themselves into the playoffs.
What was that?
Schilling had a look to the outside briefly there.
that made my heart skip. It looked like the 88 was going sideways.
Going to start racing 5th place on back. They know they're probably not going to be in the conversation for this victory. Schilling already with a win. Trying to be the first driver to win back-to-back races since Rodney Sullins did it 1 season ago. Speaking of Sullins, here he comes low for seconds.
Looks like Chuck's going to go with him. Now he goes to the outside with Schilling.
Ooh.
Can you give him enough of a push to make this close? Wesley going to try and crowd him up. They nearly make contact, and Grant Wesley going to lock himself into the playoffs with his first win of the season, just edging out Brian Schilling. Led about the last, roughly about 15 of the last 18 laps here, and led the big one here tonight as he'll now be vying for yet another championship here on Thursday nights.
He may have led the most laps tonight after all that. So.
He did. 19 circuits out in front. So not only the bonus points for winning the race, but add in the bonus point for leading the most laps as well.
Max points night.
The 88 of Grant Wesley, your race winner. Season 67, race number 2.
Brian Schilling's going to be going into race 3 with an incredible average finish in these first 2 races, a win and a 2nd place. Rodney Sullen's going to complete out the podium here tonight. McClure going to be fourth, and Dante Ricky did indeed lead the rest of that Biggers to the checkered flag to complete the top 5.
Oh, look at that, reenacting the 2001 Pepsi.
They're going to get out of each other's cars and hug. Jeremy Jeffries did not fare nearly as well tonight. Managed to salvage a 22nd place finish, but he struggled a good portion of the evening ever since that first cycle of pit stops. But Grant Wesley, who last week brought it home in the 6th position, now he very well may end up, well, I was going to say maybe the points leader, but Brian Schilling at 2nd might have something to say about that. It'll be close maybe between those two going into next week, but a couple of former champions have taken the first 2 checkered flags of the season, and now we'll have their sights set on the playoffs and looking to add another championship trophy to their resume. See if we can go down and dial up those podium finishers here tonight. Let's kick things off with the driver that brings it home 3rd place. Let's dial up Rodney Sullins. Hey, Rodney, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I sure do.
Wild race here tonight. I mentioned kind of seemed like more of a race that we see towards the tail end of the regular season or during the playoffs. Tonight, it was all about execution, being in the right place at the right time, checking all the boxes and not making mistakes. That opening yellow and then green the rest of the way. You're in the conversation, one of 4 drivers in the conversation for this victory. It kind of looked like once that white flag waved, you guys were all of the same mind, let's work together. But then when the pay window was open, it was every man for himself. What little more do you need to maybe be able to get around both the 4 and the 88, have this car parked in victory lane?
Well, hindsight 2020, I probably should have went to the outside, but because I figured Grant would block low, and he did. Chuck went with me, and then he went back up with Brian. Those guys are teammates. I kind of expected it. I really didn't know what Chuck was going to do there since Brian had won already. So I took a shot, thought maybe if I could get in front of Brian, squeeze in front of him, then maybe I could pull back up and get around the 88. But Grant pulled the lock, and then I was honestly okay pushing that 88 paint scheme to victory lane at Talladega, to be honest with you.
Now, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you and those other drivers in that pack with you, you were able to come down pit road and take on only a half can of fuel, while most of the other drivers had to take on a can of fuel, bringing us all the way back to decisions made in the first 5 laps of this race when we were under that first and only caution. When you guys make calls like that, is it in relation to expecting what could possibly happen later on in the race, or is it just kind of a, let's throw this strategy at the wall and see if it sticks, and if it works out, great?
I've kind of gained the mentality that if the caution comes out, then I'm going to pit and top off at least, with just a couple of laps into the race, and you can see what kind of a difference it made tonight. So, that's something that I've kind of been trying to adapt, is just if the caution comes out, unless I'm in the top 3 or 4 or 5, and I think Grant was in the top 5 when he did that. So it just I learned tonight that even in his position, it's not a bad thing to top off every time you get a chance.
We saw that the server was having some issues early on in the race. How uncomfortable did that make people while that was going on?
I was on the outside line when that started happening. And I was extremely uncomfortable. I know everybody was. We were kind of talking about giving extra room and stuff till it settled down. Thank goodness it did, because it's hard to race when it's doing that. It was only doing it in the corners, at least that's what I was seeing. But it's nerve-wracking. I mean, you know how it is driving around somebody that's warping. Well, imagine, as you've seen, the entire field looks like it's warping. So it was very hairy there for a little bit.
You guys managed to keep it clean on the racetrack. We saw some incredible saves as well. A couple of possibilities of having a second caution come out, but you guys kept it clean after that initial yellow flag in the opening stages of this race. An incredible finish here tonight. Rodney, a great points night for you as well. You came off of a 12th place finish last week. This will pole vault you up into the top 10, maybe even to the top 5 here as you look to keep the consistent season going here. Congratulations on a great run tonight. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate FRN, Tarnation TV. What you guys are doing is just phenomenal. I know last week I had a little issue. Blaine figured it out. I'm pretty sure it was good to go tonight. Thank you, guys. The job y'all are doing is great. Thank you, Blaine, for figuring that out. RTG, obviously, is one of the greatest places to race. Prime and Jeremy and Sheck and Josh and the owners here. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. My guys here, Josh and Tim, the admins here for a Thursday night, still allowed me to hang around. Thank those guys. Congrats, Grant. Brian Schilling, good job. Congrats, Grant, on your win. My RPM teammates, thank all of those guys. Black Rifle Coffee, Havana Brisa, and I real quick to say I hope you guys are enjoying these throwbacks. I had fun painting them. But I'm really enjoying doing the throwbacks thing that we're doing. My dad, Eric and Kevin, if you guys are watching, appreciate you. Keep watching and enjoy yourselves. I'm sure you chat with Seth and Kyle and Blaine every now and then, but appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody watching. Want to thank our anonymous sponsor and keep all our guys that we've lost here and our military veterans. Keep those in our thoughts and stuff. And let's head to next week.
Sounds good. Well, Rodney, congratulations on the great run here tonight. We'll be looking forward to seeing where you're positioned in points next week as we continue this road towards the playoffs here in the regular season.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Blaine, Kyle, Seth, y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Rodney.
You too.
Rodney Sullivan's third place here this evening, his first top 5 of season at 67. Let's see if we can now dial up the driver that brings it home in back-to-back top 2 finishes. We talked to him in Victory Lane last week. He almost pulled off the double to start off the season here tonight. Dial up the runner-up, Brian Schilling. Hey, Brian, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what, we talked to you last week after you got that victory, locked yourself into the playoffs, asked you just how much of a weight off your shoulders it was. I think we kind of got an idea here tonight when we saw how aggressive you were here, not only in the closing stage of this race, but I want to dial back to something we were looking at around 2/3 of the way through this race. We saw you stretch the fuel about 2 laps further than most everybody else that you were on the same number with back in the very early stages of this race. And it looked like maybe you were toying with the strategy of saving that extra lap or 2 on the final run to maybe make it on fumes. Was that in the back of your mind, or was that not a possibility once you looked at the numbers after that next to last pit stop?
I was trying, but yeah, by the time we got to that point, I knew I was still like 3 laps short, so like, well, I'll just hit the reset and just pit with the guys on the last stop and see where the cards fell.
Well, we saw you make a big move there on Grant coming out of turn 2. Almost a little contact between the two of you that could have had some catastrophic results, but when you have that victory, now you're looking for those bonus points, you're looking for the consistency to win the regular season championship and everything. Just how far were you willing to push it there to try and see if you could start out season 67 back-to-back wins?
Tonight, to be honest, not very hard. I'm like way under 100% tonight, so I was just going to be happy with the top 15, but I got into Grant a little bit in 1 and 2 trying to push them because we had that pack behind us just bearing down. I knew if I made any kind of move, even anything until 1 lap to go, they would have just ate us alive.
Now, I'm not trying to put the commentator curse on you or anything, but I remember a couple of seasons ago, we ended up having a very exciting story where we did the Brian Schilling top 5 watch. You ended up finishing in the top 5 in every single regular season race. Is it too soon to start that watch here? I mean, you got a 1.5 average finish to start the season.
No, I hope not, because that turned out to be like one of the worst playoffs I was ever in.
Brian, a great run for you here tonight to follow up your victory last week. Congratulations on doing a great job here this evening. Obviously going to be maintaining the points lead going into next week. And before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
All right. Well, thank you to you guys for putting this on. It'll be fun to go back and watch. Thank you for the sponsor that makes this happen. Big thank you to the troops. Thank you, admins, Josh, Tim, Rodney, Jeremy, Jason, oh my gosh, drawing a blank, Jeff, Ron, I know there's more, I'm sorry, I'm Sean Prime, of course, my mind's just fried, and congrats to Grant, good win tonight, me and him were around each other, a good chunk of the race. Always draft well with Grant, so good win.
Well, Brian, we appreciate taking the time to talk with us. Congratulations on the great run tonight. Hope you're feeling better in preparation for next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Brian showing second place here tonight, and oh boy, if that's how well he does when he's not feeling well, look outfield when he's back at 100%.
That's a scary thought right there.
Yeah. Oh boy. Another guy that the field always has to be worried about every single week is parked down in Victory Lane. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's race winner, Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant, the guy's up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Man, I'll tell you what, great start to the season for you. 6th place last week. You bring it home with the victory here tonight. Looked like a lot of drivers with varying strategies on fuel, but you were able to lead. It looks like the last 16, 17 laps of that race had him where you wanted him in the rearview mirror. You had Brian Schilling behind you, though, who really didn't have a whole lot to lose because he's already locked into the playoffs after last week. So how nerve-wracking was that final lap in trying to keep him off your back bumper?
Oh, my palms were sweating there at the end. My eyes were on that relative, and I seen that second pack was about 2.5 seconds back there at the white. I knew that was just the right distance that I could pretty well count on those guys sticking with me at least until the last corner. And then me and Schilling had a little bumper hook going into one, and man, I saved that thing. I have no idea how. And I was just watching that mirror coming off before. I seen Rodney looking low, and I knew with Schilling being in the middle lane, Rodney was going to be trapped down there on the bottom, and I could, keep him behind me, and he'd push me. And thanks to Rodney, I'm pushing me to the win there.
One of the most decisive moments of this race would be all the way back at the beginning, that first and only caution where we saw half the field elect not to come to pit road. A bunch of drivers came down pit road and topped off on the fuel tank, you amongst them. When we got towards the end of this race, it looked like those of you that elected to come down pit road there at the 1 to green were able to come down pit road and only take on a half a can of fuel. However, you were the lead car for a good portion of that run leading up to the final pit stop. How close was it for you to maybe not be able to take on that half can and maybe have to take on a full can of fuel since you were creating the draft for everybody else?
Actually, coming down for that last stop, I could have went one more lap, but I pretty well wanted to pit as soon as I could. And also, I knew that there was a handful of cars that was on that same pit sequence as I was. I didn't know exactly who all was on that, but I had an idea there. And so that final pit stop was right on the mark. And but no, I still had one lap to the green. Yeah, early in the race, I was running 4th actually whenever I pitted, and that was like lap 2. And I was like, it was a split decision. Honestly, I could have stayed out, but I was like, it's early in the race. If it goes green, I'm going to have this fuel all the way to the end, and then it just paid off in the end because we were able to take less fuel. So, yeah, it worked out for us.
But with getting that victory and locking yourself in the playoffs this early on in the season, you now get to answer my default question that I normally ask people that end up getting these early checkered flags. What does this now do for the mentality going forward? Because there's still a lot to race for. There's still bonus points towards the playoffs, still the regular season championship, and we got the bracket challenge that's going to be starting up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna keep driving, trying to get that regular season championship. Those bonus points going into the playoffs are huge. We did it last season, I think, or we're real close. and I was in great position for the final 4, but unfortunately ended up having to miss because of work. But I think this season I should be good to go, be able to run the whole season, and hopefully we can keep it up front and make that final 4.
Well, we saw you out front in that Dale Jr. throwback, channeling a little E there to keep them in your rearview mirror on that final lap to pick up the victory here tonight. Congratulations on your victory, Grant. Before we let you get back to your celebrating, though, the floor is yours for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I had a little shades of Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip there in the Pepsi 400 win in July of 2001. Jeremy Jeffries is driving, obviously, Michael Waltrip's throwback, and I thought that was pretty cool that him and I got to do the donuts in the grass and kind of remake that a little bit. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I want to thank the owner here, Sean Prime, and Jeremy Jeffries, Josh Metallic, and Jason Sheck. Those guys, I just appreciate everything they do. They put in a lot of work here, along with all the admins. But keeping the lights on for us. I'd like to thank the admins here on Thursday, Josh, Tim, and Rodney. FRN, Tarnation TV, thanks to you guys for doing what you do. Kyle, Seth, Blaine, you guys are awesome. My teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Yeah, we saw that incredible moment with you and Jeremy kind of reliving that there in the infield. I do have to ask for my own personal sake, did you and Jeremy hug your monitors, physically hug your monitors?
I was hugging mine.
Okay, there you go. Hopefully he did his as well. You got to commit to the bet. Well, Grant, congratulations on the victory here tonight. Best of luck here the rest of this regular season, as now you know you're locked in to run for another championship. Maybe we talk to you next week as well. We'll see.
All right, let's do it.
Grant Wesley brings it home P1 here tonight in the second race of the season, joining Brian Schilling as a winner here in season 67. And I mentioned it, guys, that this race seemed to look very much like the type of races we're used to seeing towards the end of a regular season or during the playoffs, where drivers are kind of at that mentality that there's so much more to lose if we make a mistake. If we're seeing this kind of racing in the early going of the season, does this maybe set the tone of what we can expect to see every single week leading up to the postseason?
I can't imagine it being this clean all season. I mean, it's nice to see, but I would imagine the closer we get to the playoffs and you have drivers that they're going to start feeling that pressure of, I need to win a race, I need to get in the playoffs. I think we're going to see more aggression the later we get into the regular season.
Of course, as well, Brian and Grant, 2 former champions. We saw a couple of drivers last season kind of be the underdog story. Saw Denny Carroll pick up his first victory. A couple of drivers make some appearances inside the playoffs for either the first time or the first time in quite a while. With it being early on in the season, how long do you think we maybe wait before we see a Cinderella story? Or do you think we're going to see more and more of these former champions or drivers that we're used to seeing in victory lane continue to kind of put the pressure on them and snipe these victories as well?
Man, that's really hard to say right there, given the unpredictability that we get with super speedway racing. I mean, one week it's, all the veterans and the former champions up front, and, the very next week we can have 2 or 3 guys battling out for their first ever win. So, who knows? It's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking right now. I mean, shout out to Jeremy Jeffries, always gets the point standings updated for us before we go off the air. Obviously, Schilling with back-to-back top 2 finishes. He's the points leader, but only by 5 points over tonight's winner, Grant Wesley. But some other names that are kind of hovering up there, including RJ Cabana, 3rd in points. Sullins with the podium tonight, 4th. Denny Carroll's up there in 5th. You got Martin, Seminara, Causey, Jeffrey, Sandoval. So they're all looming there. Could be talking to one of those drivers as the 3rd winner of the season next week. We'll have to find out who's going to take the next checkered flag here of season 67 of the Talladega Challenge Series next week. We appreciate y'all joining us here tonight. Congratulations to Grant Wesley as he picks up his first victory here of the season, locking himself into the playoffs. We'll see you guys next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we continue on the season here. For Blaine Donlin, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. We appreciate you joining us here tonight for our coverage of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series on Tarnation TV and the Flat Out Racing Network.